ZFM Stereo Talk.
Our business is able to access currency through the formal channels.
Let's take it this way. Until about this time last year, we were running what I call an over-liberalized foreign exchange market, something that no other country does. Especially in a situation where the hard currency, the US dollars, is the medium of exchange. It's almost like the sole currency, and yet we don't print it.
The talk that gets you talking, Mondays to Thursdays between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Yes, ZFM Stereo is on YouTube. Search for ZFM Stereo and get all the action.
The platform. Step up and speak out.
It is a good evening, Zimbabwe. It's ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town. My name is Larry Kwirirayi. On this episode of The Platform is Political Mondays, and of course the big story of the weekend is what we'll be tackling. But before I tell you what that is all about, I'm going to remind you of the frequencies you can listen to us across the country on Chivu 99.8, Kama TV Wange 105.1, Kariba 105.3, Nyanga 98.2, Gweru 104.3, Bulawayo 106.7, my hometown right there, and we're broadcasting out of Harare where our frequency is 106.4. Listen to us over the internet where you go to our website, it's www.zfmstereo.co.zw, and you can also listen to us via the TuneIn app, which is available for free. Just download it and look for ZFM Stereo, and you can listen to us live and in charge. Follow us on Twitter at ZFM Stereo. Like our Facebook page, that's facebook.com/ZFM Stereo. And on Instagram is at ZFM Stereo ZW. And if you want to listen to this show and any other current affairs shows that we have on the day after, you can just look for it via our YouTube platform. Just look for ZFM Stereo on YouTube, and you can listen to us live and in charge. Well, it will be posted as a podcast then. If you want to get in touch with us throughout the show, it's 0731 168045. That's our WhatsApp number, 0731 168045, here on ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town. Now, of course, the biggest story this weekend is the ZANU-PF primary elections that have been taking place over the past couple of days. In fact, I've got two people here, but just to give you a background, they're ongoing, and there have been many reports of inconsistencies. Let us listen to some of the voters across the country expressing the views in as far as what happened in this primary election.
Maizvanga zvanzi ma-elections achiomira zvinhu zvogadziriswa because kumberi uko ndo kwatiri kutarisa. If the electorate is disgruntled, zvinozoaffecta the national election yedu maharmonize iwayo because ndiwo kavanovhota.
My elections, they were marred by a lot of irregularities, and surprisingly the ballot boxes, when they came to our wards, they didn't have any of the candidates' names on them. They were actually lost ballot boxes.
Nakuendako maballot tango mukatingonza hai akuna mapepa ikoko mapepa aenda naunaripo vaenda kupi vaenda nemapepa kunyanga kudistrict madistrict asina vanhu kune vanhu ikoko kwanga kamira vanhu ma3000 ma4000 hakuna kuenda mapepa. Tati isusu titaure kuvakuru kuti tinokumbirawo kuti vatipe rimwe zuva rekuti maballot anyatsoenda munzvimbo, kwete nemunhu ari kukukwidza vanhu vachivhotera munhu wavo vanoda, kwete kumbunyikidza vanhu, kwete kuti munhu azvivhotere iyewo zvidzosera pachigaro, vanhu vese vasina kuvhota, munhu ngaabve kuvanhu.
Hatina kufarira mafambiro aita election yedu nokuda kwekuti imwe candidate wanga agara ari MP nguva yapfuura akatora maballots akafamba nawo achinovhotesa vanhu zvatisingazivi, zvatisina kutenderana.
Isusu wadi yedu wadi 6 yakanzi mapepa ayo ashaiva akazouya takatanga kuvhota isusu kuma past 5 zakudaenda kuma to 6 vaivhotesa vachona vakabva vati kuma to 7 tavhara kudhara but ve wadi 5 vanga varipo vakavhota kubva kuma 4 mapepa vakakurumidza kuya kusvika kuma past 10
paivhoteswa pacho paigona kushedzwa mbuya 1 vanga vasingagoni kunyora poshe vonyongedza munhu avari kuda then maagency tikada kusumuka kuti tiende ipapo votaura kuti aiwa dzokere munogara pasi bhozi munhu yachechi zambuyava bozi vamwe vaigona kuti vakati ndikuda chimuti vamwe kuti vobva vanyora pana chimuti pepe vonyora kuti poto kuratidza kuti munhu anenge anyorwa sizvo nenyaya yekuti anga asingagoni kuverenga anga asingagoni kunyora saka zvinhu zviri unfair tamirira vakuru vacho kuti tione kuti zvinoitwa sei because ini wandiri kumirira abva atonditi chibuda hako imomo
imwe candidate iritoriko izvozvo muri kuvhota vanhu vamwe vachona imomo aritorimo candidate izvozvo akatogara arimo vari kuvhota which means masupporters ake ndo ari kuvhota iye candidate arimo but tanga tati ngazvimire kusvika tanzwa feedback kubva kumusoro kuti vari kuti chii.
We are trying to resolve other sticky issues here and there, and we are likely to perhaps conclude the elections tomorrow. As for now, there are some areas where voting is continuing, and there are some areas where there's shortage of ballot papers. These are being shipped from Harare to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to vote. Most of the challenges are that their names are not appearing on the voters' roll. But this is perhaps an omission, typographical errors where someone spells the name wrongly. And these we are trying to solve on the ground.
So that's the feedback that we got from disgruntled voters as well as other parties involved in the current primary elections that are taking place and as far as ZANU-PF is concerned. Get in touch with us on 0731 168 Tell us what is going on and as far as these issues are concerned. If you've seen any sort of thing that's been happening in as far as these primaries are concerned. But in the studio today, and you can ask our guest the question, first of all, we're going to have two participants in this poll. Currently in the studio, I've got contesting for the Harare East seat, which he currently sits as MP for, Honorable Terence Mukupe. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Larry.
And coming in a little bit is Mr. Gilbert Muponda, who is contesting in Warren Park. Now, of course, we're going to get into the issues that were raised here, but I want to start front and center with you. You have two issues. One of allegedly assault.
Every politician has issues.
Okay, I'm going to start with just two. Probably got 65 at the end of the show, but you have two issues. One of allegedly assaulting a staffer from the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah.
Another one that you allegedly kidnapped someone and assaulted their elections agents. What is the truth?
Like I said, it's election time and election season. And it's normal within such a setting for people to come up with, fantasy stories. And as I pointed out, I'm actually very disappointed with one of your radio stations, Capitalk FM, which I think predominantly fueled the fire in terms of saying Terrence Mukupe Gilbert. And as I've said, and I'll put it on record, we have challenges in government. And the challenges that are there, I think it has to be clear that not everyone is for the new dispensation and not everyone is pulling in the same direction in as far as the civil servants are concerned. And that's why you find there have been major changes in some of the government departments and government units where people have been rearranged, people have been let go. You've seen what has happened with the police force. And I would want to believe that something like that is probably necessary in the Ministry of Finance at the right time. There are certain people that have to be redeployed. It's pretty clear. So this whole issue of saying I'll put it out there.
So the question is, that's the first one. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one. But there's another allegation in recent days of you having been said you have kidnapped someone and assaulted their election agents.
Is there a name of this phantom person? Who's the person? And when did that happen? Elections were yesterday. We had our elections yesterday. We had our primary elections yesterday. And with any primary election, what will actually be happening is that, I think I had about 8 voting centers. I had about 8 voting centers. And as I'm moving from one voting center to the other, I would be moving with a convoy of cars and with my team and basically strategizing and seeing how the election is going on. And how do I then get to a position that, given the security around me and the people that I move around with, that I, as Terence Mukupe, end up kidnapping an individual? Who's that person? So that's again the kind of politics that we don't want. what's clear is that when people see that like you're a progressive person and who's a force to be reckoned with, they'll come up with all kinds of silly stories. And I'm clear that like this is all, Tendai Biti is doing. He plays dirty and he's probably afraid of the election. And yes, I'm coming after him. I'm going after Tendai Biti. I'm coming for him.
In what context? Because then that could be classified in so many different ways, especially if you're being accused of assault.
I'm talking of politically. I'm pretty clear that the juggernaut that ZANU-PF has, we've got a strong and able leader in Emmerson Mnangagwa. And this election is going to be different. All the other elections, you find that what was happening was that the vote that MDC was getting was a protest vote. Everyone was not happy with President Mugabe. Even us in ZANU-PF were not happy with President Mugabe. So you find that the people that were voting for MDC, the people who had been frustrated in ZANU-PF, this one, for the most part, are card-carrying members or people who should be card-carrying members of ZANU-PF, but left ZANU-PF because they were frustrated one way or the other. So now things have changed. You can't come to the people who need the same student politics that was here. Angry type of politics where you're talking about revolutionary this, and using all the big words and the jargon. No, people are smart. They see through you. You have to be someone who could, like, you've got something to offer to the electorate. And you have to be someone where people can see that, like, the main challenges that we have in this country are really economic challenges. Hakuna mabasa. Food prices are very high. Basic living conditions, housing and all these things. People want solutions. So you can't come with the same angry type of politics. You should be the only one who should be ruling, and we should go to Kavan. So that protest vote is no longer there. So that issue, I'm an MDC person, vote for me. It doesn't work. And I was saying, one thing that you have to see. Go to any of these constituencies where you have an MDC MP and ask them, can you show me something that's tangible that you've done? You find most of them have not done anything because they're used to this thing. I'm going to the MDC, so I should be voted for just because I'm an MDC MP. So things have changed. Things are different. And I'm pretty confident that, with Mnangagwa, Wachuenga, and Wamohadi, it's going to be difficult for the MDC to dislodge us. And that's why even in one of my posts I was even showing with one of the district meetings that I had a bigger crowd than crowd Yachamisa.
Okay, I want to ask a question. We've dealt with the issue of the assault. What I'm going to do is, because you openly said you wanted details of this issue. This was brought up by a listener. So if you're a listener out there, you brought up this question. Who is the person who was allegedly kidnapped? So we can get to the bottom of this. Get in touch with us on 0731 168 Send us the name of the person that was allegedly kidnapped and we can get to the bottom of this issue. But earlier on, you made reference to the fact that there was no one assaulted. But it's with people that are not these alleged radio station that you mentioned. It's widely reported that you went and paid a $30 admission of guilt fine. What was that for?
Let me tell you something. Here are two things. As a government minister, I signed something that's called the Official Secrets Act. And according to the Official Secret Act, there are certain documents that I cannot divulge into the public forum. And there are certain things that I cannot, even in terms of meetings and things that I've discussed, that I cannot bring into the public forum. So you find people who come up with my crazy allegations and try to have a situation. They want to put you into a position where you get into the public space and have a situation where you start having to divulge things that you cannot divulge. So I'm not going to be party to any monkey business. And like I said, and the truth is there. So that's why I'm saying, if you can go and find whatever docket that said that's out there, go and pull those documents and show me anywhere where Honorable Terence Mukupe. There's nothing. Zero.
So, again, the question. What you say they were apanga personal row? Okay, we let's say we go with that. So what was the fine for?
There's no fine. Everything was withdrawn. Apana chiripo. No one was assaulted.
So everything was withdrawn. Get in touch with me, 0731 168 045. Having joined us in the studio now is the contesting for the Warren Park seat. Welcome to the program, Mr. Gilbert Muponda.
Thank you, Larry. Good evening, Zimbabwe.
Now, in your case, allegations have been raised against you that essentially most people want to know. This is a good thing that's going to be hanging over yourself. How you found yourself to be cleared when there's issues of the ENG saga being cleared for standing for ZANU-PF. It's something that's still fresh in people's minds, and people have been asking about this issue all day. Take us through all of this.
Okay, thank you, Larry. I think we have a process whereby, for starters, any ZANU-PF candidate has to have a police clearance. So I was cleared by the ZRP, by the CID, and I don't have a criminal record. I was never convicted of any offense. So if you have never been convicted, just being accused of something and you go to court and you are cleared and your life goes on. So that doesn't really matter in terms of some people, because I think you've got some people who are just trying to tarnish my name and block my a new endeavor, because I don't know for whatever reasons. The idea really is that I have a right to stand as a candidate, and then the people can choose. It's not for so-called experts or certain media houses to detect who should stand, who shouldn't. It's really for the ZANU-PF party to look at its processes, and they have satisfied those processes, and now it's up to the people, and I believe I'm going to win in Warren Park because I was born and bred there.
0731 168 045. So, I've just gotten access to the document. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Mukupe, where there is a document you say that, and as far as that issue's come, everyone's come asking the question over and over again. And if the question that was asked by a listener right now is that if there was no case, what was withdrawn? And I'm looking at the document right now, and it's essentially a clearly of admission document coming from the police station that we have in our possession at the moment. So again, the question: why was it? What was withdrawn? What case was there? And why was a $30 fine paid?
And like I'm pointing out, there's a document that's after that document which actually shows that there's nothing of that sort. So you've got a situation again, which I'm telling you, where people give you half-baked things and try and have situations where they want to create some fallacy, right? So again, I'm saying to you, why don't you pull actually the actual docket? Why don't you pull the documents and see, and I'm saying, is there even, what would have happened is that, like, I'm sure that person would have sued me by now.
Okay.
There's nothing of that sort. So that's what I'm just saying, like, what you have to realize is the timing of all of these things. This is not the first time I've heard people trying to throw mud at me. And you know what? I always say this, Kuti, I have a journey that I've embarked on, and people can throw all kinds of mud, and I know who's doing this.
So are you saying that there was a case thrown at you, and you went and had this document in which you provided a statement to the police station?
It's actually very clear. There's nothing of that sort. Hakuna mnagaroa. So, let me explain this to you, Larry, how the law in Zimbabwe works. If I go to the police right now and say, Larry and you basically have two things that can happen. A docket is going to be opened. That docket is going to be opened. It will clearly outline everything that the allegation is saying. And there's two things that will happen. It will either go to court or things can be resolved kumapurisa, right? What's actually interesting is that you've got a situation where people have an agenda, and the agenda is just to soil my name. What's not coming out is a situation where you've got someone who's incompetent and someone who should not be working in government, and someone who was basically sabotaging Basarandaita. So what I'm just saying is, like, let's not try and create a chinuchisipo and where you start having false allegations that you've got a situation so to be clear to you, what I'm pointing out to you, apana munagaroa. And what's clear for you, let me tell you what's actually clear for you. There's a clear process that's actually happening in government concerning this whole issue, which I will not preempt here.
There are a lot of questions coming from that, but I want to come back to you, Mr. Muponda. You know the feeling out there that people have is to say, okay, you're not convicted, but whatever happened, I remained broke. Whatever you may say that there were things that just happened, whatever the case may be. How do you convince that person sitting at home that when you were in a position of prominence, if you want to call it that for the sake of the argument, things went wrong? And what is it that makes somebody feel comfortable about you sitting in a position where you're running for MP? Or at least trying to run for MP?
No, I'm running. I actually won the primaries for Warren Park.
Okay.
I won them last night. So if you go right now to the command center, the results are there. I won by landslide. So the people of Warren Park have spoken. So I'm not so sure who is trying to raise the dust, because this story, I believe it was planted 2 days before the election, trying to influence. This was a planted story, and the results show by themselves. The people have spoken. So if this person was very concerned, they should have been a voter and come to convince them. One thing you need to understand is this. At a certain time, it was a crime for a young black Zimbabwean to be rich or to have money or to drive certain cars. That is a perception we need to work on, whereby you think every black person who's made some money is either a criminal or has been using witchcraft or has been using black magic and all sorts of evil things. There's been this thinking that for you to be rich, you need to belong to a certain class. And some of these things that happened in the past is that people now understand. When I came back, I went to Canada in exile. I came back at the invitation of the government of Zimbabwe. They invited me back after realizing what had happened. Certain businessmen were victimized during that period. And if you look at your archives, it will show all indigenous bankers were victimized for one reason or the other. And that way the banking system was actually disrupted, and we haven't recovered up to this point. Given what happened, we lost a lot of talent, a lot of management skills, and confidence was lost because of how this was handled. You never see such an action happening in any other country where you've got your bankers, all of them criminalized on that fashion. So right now, when I came back into Zimbabwe, I decided to focus on education, because I believe a lot of what happened to me is because people didn't understand what I had gone through and how I came to be who I am and who I was then. So I think those who are interested in the ENG story need to do further reading about what has happened. I was cleared by Interpol, number one. I was cleared by the ZANU-PF. I was cleared by the Zimbabwean courts that ENG and the director itself have paid out everything that was owed to anyone, and some assets were returned to us. Even the cars, some of the cars were returned to us. Even the properties were returned to us, because we paid out everyone who was owed by ENG. It has never happened in the history of Zimbabwe that a company is liquidated and it has some excess assets. When a company is liquidated, it should actually leave a deficit, because that is the reason for the company to be liquidated. But if you find that a company is liquidated and then it is excess assets, it shows the company should have been liquidated in the first place. We were victimized. I was actually a victim. I lost assets in the process, and that was proven because the bank that I owned then, CFX, which was called Century Bank, was taken off by another bank and then was run down. But the picture that was created those days was that I only owned cars and no proper assets. But that was a fallacy, and we were still trying to create that. I was cleared by the core Home Affairs ministers. That included Teresa Makone, who was MDC, and Kempo Mohadi, who was representing ZANU-PF. I was cleared by Interpol. I was cleared by the courts here. I was cleared by the Anti-Corruption Commission. So I don't know who's trying to convict me and in which court. So I think it's very unfair and unprofessional for someone to go out there and call me a criminal and try to tarnish my name. I was proven innocent. There are people who have, it's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, Gilbert, that these journalists and the radio personalities, it actually appears as if they have an agenda against any young person who's in ZANU-PF. I would want to see a situation where they interrogate my MP's MDC at the same level It's like they totally ignore.
Okay,
it's like they totally ignore.
No.
It's like they totally ignore my MDC MPs, right? And when you see any young person in ZANU-PF who is there or who clearly wants to work for his country, changes in Zimbabwe. It's unfortunate because they are the first ones wanotanga kuuya kuita say to bash us, and it's as if it's a crime for me to become ZANU-PF. I would want to see a situation you go to the same scrutiny that you subject us as ZANU-PF young guys, and you could be overseas.
Yes, you decide to be in Harare.
I want to ask you a question.
Let me point out. We decided to work for the country.
Let me point out the point. It's almost like the only time they mention with their young people, they want to associate it with MDC. Can I ask the young people who are ZANU-PF? Then all of a sudden we're all evil and corrupt, right? But like everything, MDC, the young person, everything is flowery and glowing. So we need to change the mentality here, the broadcasters in this country. You have to stop bashing us. I had a situation, my journalists, people who could talk. They dedicated 8 hours. They going to bash without even coming to me.
To call him, give me a chance. Guys want to story about me. They never called me for right of refusal to respond. I could respond and answer the questions because I've got a clear record. These are court records. If I was cleared by the court, High Court of Zimbabwe. It's just a few meters from here. Why doesn't the newspaper check them out? Interpol is here, got head offices here for Southern Africa. Why can't you go there? But I was cleared by the Anti-Corruption Commission. It's here. I was cleared by the police. The HQ of the police is just a few meters from here. Why can't you guys go and go? Why would ZANU-PF allow a criminal to stand for itself? If we run out of cadres,
I have to ask you a question. Honorable Mukupe, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. In all fairness, we have had a whole gamut of people come here from all political parties, and we always have this feeling, why is it that you don't go and ask these people the same questions? Right now, this is your opportunity to speak to the people of Zimbabwe. So I mean, it's not helpful. It's not helpful coming here and not dealing with the insecurities of the people. This is you're saying you want the right of refusal. We're saying giving you I ask you very simple questions like this. Let the people at home who are asking these questions understand it.
But
better.
let me say what the problem that I have. It's almost like the script that you give to us as the young ZANU-PF MPs and aspiring MPs. It's a negative script. You find when you've got a young MDC MP the developmental issues. What's your vision for the people?
Why didn't you ask me that? What am I going to do for Warren Park?
When I come here, what you guys then do kidnap ndakanzwa kuti une magirlfriend 50 ndakanzwa kuti wakabachakati. It's like it's negative interviewing. There's nothing positive.
There are questions.
Ask me why do I want to be MP for Warren Park?
Honestly,
then I can tell you why the people actually voted for me yesterday.
For the sake of
the landslide yesterday, the people of Warren Park have spoken. So I don't know why you journalists think you want to make a decision for them. I don't know how democratic that is, that a journalist thinks he knows for the people of Warren Park. I grew up in Warren Park, and that's my home area. So I don't know a journalist who's in New York or somewhere has been fed that Muponda is a criminal.
Mr. Muponda, we have another 30 minutes of the show. This is not the summary of the show. There's no need to get highly agitated. The listener at home.
You are taking these punches on behalf of the other journalists.
No.
Because I think now you are representing their interests.
The person at home wants to hear your view. The person at home simply wants to hear your view, and that's what I'm trying to get out of you. And it's not going to be helpful if we have it in such a way. It's ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town. I wonder, I've got questions here from Mandla Mpofo from Nyamandlovu. It says, do all media houses have an agenda against Mr. Mukupe? The question that's also, why does he suspect others of trying to tarnish his image? No. That is the person listening. I will give you a chance to respond to that after we take the break.
Plus the plans.
To all you Twitter heads, connect with ZFM Stereo on twitter.com/ZFM Stereo /ZFM Stereo.
The platform. Step up and speak up.
It is ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town. I got two very animated ZANU-PF sitting MP at the moment, the Honourable Terence Mukupe and Mr. Gilbert Muponda. He says he'll be challenging for the seat in Warren Park, having won the primary. So get in touch with us on 0731 168 I've got a message here. Somebody says we've listened to radio for quite a long time. NDC members were also grilled there, so Mukupe is wrong. You should answer questions, not blame the NDC. Someone says, let me look at this as a question here. Someone says and this maybe people can be referred to your Facebook page. You say you got the information. Somebody, because want to move on to other issues, says, I'm a Warren Park resident. Please, Mr. Muponda, I want to hear the ENG saga so they can get more information. The question is, somebody says, before we took the break, do all media houses have an agenda against Mr. Mukupe? Does he suspect that they're trying to tarnish his image? Mandlampo from Nyamandlov. I'm going to give you a minute to respond to that, and then that way we can get on to the other issues.
It's not my media houses, but like what the problem is this: you'll have a political opponent who basically is afraid that you're going to come after them, kuma elections, and then what they do, they go to a journalist who's gullible or probably pay the journalist. I know that for a fact. My journalists are not Toramari. And it, go and write a negative article, go up a radio and run negative press. And guess what? The journalists and the broadcasters go on radio, they blast you for 8 hours, right? Without even coming to you and hearing your side of the story. I'll give you this. A day before my primaries, Daily News, yakaisa an article, Minister Mukupe to be recalled from government. Also, at the end of the article, a high court order, which was dismissed by a judge. It was a stupid order. But what was the headline in Daily News saying? I'm being recalled from government. So you can tell it becomes an issue. These journalists, they become players because people that are opponents, right? So the issue is this: we want you as my broadcasters, you as the journalists, could you please, you know what? When munagawe dora to you, please be principled and professional enough to urambe mari. Okay, so I'm going to ask this and then want to move on to the issues of development that you want to talk about. You say my journalists anotengwa, yes, and so forth. Is there any evidence that you've come across of this, or is this one of those statements that you said in general? If you want to Larry and give me an unknown person, don't pay $1,000. Don't mutend out Daily News. Only pay your story. I want you to write a story and I'll prove it to you. Gadzira story, right? We run an experiment right now. Gadzira story, I'll take it to Daily News. I'll take it to Newsday. And your story no Buddha. And I'll put $1,000 on the table and I'll prove it to you. So that like it's clear kuti and this sitting in the sheet and it an anonymous story. Oh Gadzira story no to we can prove it. And that's what I'm telling you, good, like these are things that happen. Saka tikasatanga kutaura zvinizvi toita kunge zvisingaitike. You know, they're part and parcel of the corrupt system in the country that we're saying we have to do away with. This thing yekuti tinoda kutora as if you know the media houses vachene havasi vakorinde. You know what? They're not. You know, and people have to stop becoming my players as my journalists. Be impartial. Musatengese. That's all we're saying.
Okay, get in touch with us on 0731 168 That's our WhatsApp number. Now, getting back to the current elections, when we played audios earlier on, there were issues of irregularities. I'm going to start with Mr. Muponda. What are your comments from the election so far?
Well, the elections, they have challenges. I mean, it's no more the world over. There's never an election where everyone is satisfied and happy and smiling. So there are always hiccups and challenge with resources and timing issues. But I think the process has been very well. There was no imposition of candidates. The people are being given a chance to choose their representative. So I believe we have really an opportunity to set up a very strong ZANU-PF team going into this election. That's why I think a lot of these so-called opposition newspapers are very much full with these stories trying to scandalize and demonize ZANU-PF candidates, because I think it's going to be very hard for the MDC to do something, because we're fielding very strong candidates. who are being chosen by the people.
Candidates.
Very young and young candidates who've got exposure. You know, young candidates who can live anywhere in the world but are choosing to live in Zimbabwe.
Exactly.
And the same question to you, Honorable Mukupe.
It's the same sentiments. The elections were not perfect, but you know what I like about ZANU-PF? Tukita my election. Election. That's it.
Like in Warren Park, I know that the MTC is not going to have a primary election. They've imposed a candidate. So I think
there's no democracy.
I'm going to win by a landslide, obviously, because we are facing an imposed candidate.
So be happy with like us as ZANU-PF. You know what? At least Trukita Chinu, that's having challenges, and we're giving people the opportunity. And just to show you how democratic it is, you've seen with some of there's news filtering in, with even some of the big wigs, and we're going to like a celebrated ZANU-PF politicians. They're losing my elections. What could lose? So that's just showing good, like, you know what? We have a system that's working. It might not be perfect, but like, one or lose. And you're having my unknown young people, to, you know, which is good.
So I've got a question here from Esteem from Taifire. Esteem Taifire Nika from Chitown. Get in touch with us on 0731 168 Can we believe him? Talking about you having won, because election Yakuti, many people are complaining Kuti it was rigged. So how do you believe that the landslide issue?
The election is posted on the voting post. You know, wherever we voted. After the voting, with the agents represented, the police present, presiding officer present, everyone counts, right? Once they are counted, they are posted right there on the polling position. They are not transported anywhere. You post them outside immediately, and then you collect them later, and then transported later after posting. So if you go away, the Warren Park ones happened, like at Zimkada, at Magamba Hall, and the crash, and the Warren Park 4 school. The results are posted outside. So you do your elections here, and then the results are posted outside. So the rigging you are talking about, whatever, it's just that whenever you have an election, you always have people complaining. It's unfortunate, but it's to be expected. But it's better than some people who go and say, look, I'm not going to have a Congress to elect a leader. They are going to say, no, I'm the leader.
Let's focus on ZANU-PF primary elections. I think
it's related. It's very important that we bring contrast to that.
No, today is about ZANU-PF primary elections. It's the same way that I always say when the MDC come here, it's not about the other party. This is about what's happening within your party. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yeah. Right now, the messages that are coming across, the audios that we played earlier on, people saying there was a candidate somewhere who came in, stole the ballot boxes, ran away with them, they found him 30 minutes later. Those are issues that you're going to have to deal with in as far as the image of the party. How are you going to deal with that? I
find it very hard, that story to believe until I see it for myself. That a candidate came and stole a ballot and went away because they are armed police, you know, like reaction group.
With AK-47.
AK-47. Every post where there's AK-47 plus 6 officers of police and other security services that are there. So, and agents for each candidate can have two agents who are there, and security on top of that. So to say that a candidate took a ballot box for 30 minutes and ran away and then brought it back, it's beyond fiction. So I think we don't want.
I'm going to ask a question. You can be dismissive, but this is an image that you have. So you can. How do you get the person sitting at home? I'm going to ask you, Mr. Mukupe, to respond to that.
Let me explain what those audios, what people were talking about. The first teething issues, I'll talk about Harare East, the teething issues that we had. Ballot papers were not delivered on time. So you find that a lot of people were disgruntled, that like they were queuing to come and vote for the candidate of their choice from as early as 7 o'clock. You know, we had thousands of people all over the place coming out to cast their vote. And people would, you know, you'd find like naturally people would get hungry. And in some places, I think ballot boxes were delivered at like 1 p.m. or 3 p.m. So naturally, you know, the electorate would get disenfranchised and angry that like they've had to wait for such a long. That's a logistical issue. And that logistical issue, I think, falls squarely on the, like, you know, at the feet of the commissar. That, like, you know, they could have done better there. Then there's the issue of the ballot papers. I know that, like, in my constituency, the issues where the ballot paper actually ran out. You know, we had one, I think we had some wards where like only 500 ballot papers were issued, but you know, we had over 2,000 people coming out wanting to vote. You know, I think the numbers were unprecedented. And because they were basing with the numbers of the people that voted like in 2013. But like we are seeing that numbers have actually tripled or quadrupled in terms of people that are excited and are wanting to vote. So I think the commissariat was overwhelmed. And I think it's a problem, but it's a positive problem where you're seeing that the popularity of the party has grown in leaps and bounds. And where you're having way more people wanting to vote and wanting to express their love for the party. So it's not an issue of where you then say kwarigwa. Rigging is the wrong word that you're saying. There's no one there who's basically talking about the issue of rigging. And what they're talking about, the issue of there's an MP at Torama ballot boxes. That's not true. What's happening with the process, for instance, here in Harare, ballot boxes and ballot papers were actually being released from ZANU-PF HQ into the hands of the police with the person who's coordinating the election. Then they will be transported to a voting center where you've got close to 8 policemen at that voting center. And one of those, in my policemen there, you've got someone an AK-47. Then you've got your observers, you've got the agents there at the voting center. So this issue, you can be able to rig an election. It's impossible.
So then I've got a listener here who says, I'm in Harare South. No voting has happened because he alleges that some aspiring candidates stuffed ballot boxes.
No, that's not true.
It's mudslinging. It's
just mudslinging. You know what you have to be careful about, remember, you've got no way of actually telling who is that person. Actually, and let me tell you this, right? In India, I've got my chat groups, right? Where you've got people, you're supposed to be discussing your ZANU-PF things. And there are people who are MDC cadres who come onto those chat groups and start spreading chaos and everything. And likewise, I think you've got also, you know, a situation you're going to some of these questions. These are not genuine people. They're not bona fide, genuine ZANU-PF persons. If he's saying good kunekwa stuff from my boxes, got to mireka a video or an image of that kutukwa stuff from my box.
Okay. What I'm going to do right now, because we keep talking about, I'm going to play, first of all, candidates who spoke. ZANU-PF candidates themselves speaking about what happened during the process. And then we're going to hear also from the PC, the Lieutenant General Rugeje, as well as issues of vetting. You listen to ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town.
My elections because if the electorate is disgruntled, affect the national election because in
my elections, they were marred by a lot of irregularities, and surprisingly, the ballot boxes, when they came to our ward, they didn't have any of the candidates' names on them. They were actually lost ballot boxes.
Nakuendako maballot tango mukachingonza hai akuna mapepa ikoko mapepa aenda naunaripo vaenda kupi vaenda nemapepa kunyanga kudistrict madistrict asina vanhu kune vanhu ikoko kwanga kamira vanhu 3,000 4,000 hakuna kuenda mapepa. Sisi atinyora tati isusu titaure kuvakuru kuti tinokumbirawo kuti vatipe rimwe zuva rekuti maballot anyatsoenda munzvimbo kwete nemunhu ari kukukwidza vanhu vachivhotera munhu wavo vanoda kwete kumbunyikidza vanhu kwete kuti munhu azvivhotere iye ozvidzosera pachigaro vanhu vese vasina kuvhota vanhu munhu ngaabve kuvanhu.
Hatina kufarira mafambiro aita election yedu nokuda kwekuti imwe candidate wanga agara ari MP nguva yapfuura akatora maballots akafamba nawo achinovhotesa vanhu zvatisingazivi zvatisina kutenderana.
Nhasi manheru nenguva dza6 o'clock tichanga tichivhara mapolling stations edu uye tinenge tichitarisa kuti munhu wese ane kodzero yekuvhota panguva idzidzo anenge avhota kana pane vanenge vakonewo nezvinenge zvavatadzisa tine urombo asi chimwe nechimwe chine magumo toda kuti process iyoyi ipere zuva ranhasi kuitira kuti mangwana tounganidza results ese kubva kumaprovinces kana tanawo results iwawo tichamaongorora pano tozoendawo nawo kuvakuru vedu kuti tivaratidze kuti ndo zvabuda kana tabvumirana navo ndo pandichazokukokai mese ndichizokuudzai kuti vabudirira musarudzo redu yemaprimaries ndivanani. Tounganidza maresults ese kubva kumaprovinces. Kana tanawo maresults iwawo tichamaongorora pano, tozoendawo nawo kuvakuru vedu kuti tivaratidze kuti ndo zvabuda. Kana tabvumirana navo ndo pandichazokukokai mese ndichizokuudzai kuti vabudirira musarudzo redu yemaprimaries ndivanani. Saka kuti ndingakupai nguva chaiyo nezuva ndingakunyeperai pari zvino, asi kuti tinomirira kuti tizadzise zvidanho izvozvo. Kana tikaita zvizadzisa zvidanho izvozvo ndinoona tichikwanisa kuzokudedzai tichikutaurirai kuti vakakunda ndivanani.
So there, candidates, because I'm going to start on that, and then I've got a follow-up question based on what
there are two issues. There's logistical issues. I think in terms of logistical issues, the commissariat came out on record saying that they faced two issues. The first issue is that the ballot papers that they printed ended up being too few. So you find the complaint here upon the 2,000, 3,000, but my ballot paper shorter. That happened in Harare East. I had places where they actually had to stop the voting process because my ballot paper got better. That happened. So then you can't then say it's rigging. It's not rigging. It's not in as a candidate ndapinda papi. Both of us as aspiring candidates, we operated under the same conditions. Tapererwa nema ballot paper. So I don't know vanotadza kuvote that they my people or your people, because vanonenge vakamira queue randomly. So you don't know who's Manwasara Vasina voter who are they going to vote for. So it's not rigging. This issue, Gunzi, there was the issue Yangaita Rodanzi, a former candidate, Angaji deliver my paper. There's with every constituency there was a coordinator, a constituency coordinator. The person who was acting as constituency coordinator was someone who was not participating in elections. So the fact you're going to a candidate, Kudara, is immaterial if you're not a candidate. Now you qualify to be in a pool Ema constituency coordinators, and all the constituency coordinator was doing was kuperekedza ma ballot papers nema purisa and delivering them at each and every point. So it does not affect how the people on the ground are going to vote.
Coming to you, Mr. Muponda, earlier in the show you declared that you had won the seat, and we listened to retired General Rugeje says now the declaration will be done after everything's been collected, and the announcement will be made by him. So are you jumping the gun in saying that you've won the seat?
Well, yes and no. I think I stand guided by what the general said, but I was a candidate and I was there when this were coming. They are already actually public because they are posted outside.
He's talking about the provisional results. So the provisional results show that he has won. So like what's just left is confirmation. As declare but like you then wait for the Chief Justice or whoever the justice are in charge the official confirmation. But provisionally the results on the ground, he's won.
Okay, so as it stands, we're going to go by what General waiting for the result. He says he's not sure what day it is. As soon as it comes in, 0731-168-045. Get in touch with us. Now, starting with you, Mr. Muponda, what have you got for Warren Park?
I've got lots of development initiatives that are already in place that I'll just expand and amplify. I'm sure you are aware of the Gilbert Muponda Foundation, which has been doing quite a number of works on the ground. We had a borehole initiative where we're going about repairing and refurbishing all the boreholes in Warren Park. As you are aware, we're having shortages of water and an outbreak of possible cholera and typhoid. And the initiative has really brought clean water to some of the neighborhoods. We've had sports tournaments and set up a sports academy that trains youngsters who want to play soccer and will give them an opportunity to be trained by top professionals. And the foundation has built a school in the constituents, and we obviously hope that we can expand the school and add on a university in the near future. which the plans are at a very advanced stage, because obviously you want skilled youngsters. That's the skill that you want for your youngsters, that they can, create jobs for themselves. Obviously, the economy is facing challenges, and you need youngsters who can create their own jobs. That can be done by having a university that is specifically targeted at bring out entrepreneurship in the kids and maybe the ladies in the neighborhood.
Okay, then from the core duties of an MP, what legislative agenda are you planning to take from the people of Warren Park to Parliament?
Well, the biggest challenge that I have in Warren Park for our residents is that most of the houses don't have title deeds. So there's need to look at the title deeds, the mechanism and the procedures, and how much it costs for you to get title deeds for your property. Because if you have a house that you've lived in for a certain period, you should have title to it instead of having it on lease forever from the council. So that is what we need to look at, because a lot of the properties in Harare, in fact, not just Warren Park, they don't have title deeds. And when you have a property that doesn't have title deeds, you have locked in a lot of capital, because you can't borrow against the asset that you own, and you can't access that credit in terms of releasing equity in the property. So one of the top things that I will look at is make sure that getting title deeds is going to be an easier process in terms of procedure and the time it takes. The same way we're talking about Zimbabwe is open for business. Warren Park should be open for business. People should be able to access their equity in a house, but you need title deeds. And a lot of those stands, like some of them were acquired through cooperatives and acquired as infuse. So the documentation, the paperwork is in shambles in terms of you trying to access credit from the financial system. So that is an area that I will look at with interest. And also there's an issue of resource extraction in Warren Park. It's an urban constituency, but as you know, Warren Hills, most of the roads in Harare have been built using the gravel taken from that hill. As I was a kid, the hill was very much higher than what it is today. It's almost maybe at 3/4 level now, because people and companies, construction companies, keep extracting that gravel, but there's no mechanism or structure whereby the local authority shares the revenue derived from that activity with the community. And those trucks that come in have damaged the roads. I'm sure you know we have a road that has been damaged that goes from the roundabout to Merek. That road is now a disaster because it's now a dust road, but it was a tarred road. It's being damaged by these trucks that go to the gravel. So there's need to look at mechanism, a community ownership scheme of some sort for that resource. I know for rural constituencies where you find diamonds and platinum, you have that, but for urban constituencies we don't have something like that. So that's something that I'm going to look at and see how the community can benefit from such a resource.
Coming to you, Honorable Mukupe, why should you get another term?
I'm good at what I do.
That's it? What legislative... Look, if I'm sitting in Harare East, I'm trying to figure out what legislative agenda are you going to take forward? What's he going to take to Parliament that I need as a resident of Harare East?
You see, the problem is that it's a tricky question for me, in the sense that I'm pretty clear in terms of what needs to be done in terms of the financial space and our economy, and what legislative agenda that we should have. So why I chose that answer is that I don't want to say something that's then construed to be government position and to be a signal of where we're going as government. Because remember, yes, I'm speaking here in my capacity as a member of parliament, as a young ZANU-PF member of parliament, but I can't also then ignore the fact that I'm a sitting Deputy Minister of Finance. So I don't want to give the wrong signals, but it's clear for me the legislative agenda should be focused on primarily two things. Number one, reducing our taxes. The taxes that we charge the workers, the taxes that we charge businesses. We have to have our businesses breathing. And the second thing that we also have to target is that I feel that there's a situation where you've got a lot of people that have become rich through ill-gotten means. And we really have to be serious as a country about lifestyle audits. The pool of people that are not paying taxes in Zimbabwe, whether they're businesses or they're individuals, but are supposedly living large, it's frightening. If everyone came to the table and started pulling their weight and also paying their taxes, guess what? We will be able to reduce taxes for people, reduce taxes for businesses. But jamba. And they, instead of paying their taxes, they end up building all kinds of crazy mansions. I've driven down in my constituency in areas like, if you go Kunana Chishawasha Hills, if you see the kind of mansions that have been put up, and you really wonder, are these people also paying their taxes? Chances are 99% of those people are not paying my taxes. So if you don't pay my taxes, it forces government to then increase my taxes on those people that are being loyal. So my agenda is really about tax reforms. There's a lot of things that we need to do on the tax front.
Okay, I'm going to read 2 messages here and then give each a chance to respond in 1 minute each. I know politicians tend to go on and on, but the first one is the fact that Gilbert Muponda has won. I suppose there's somebody who's in your party. I think it's not deviating from the regulations stipulated by the commissar. I think, yes, he said, it is not that he be allowed to declare himself a winner based on provisional results that have been published. And then I've got Catherine Schumer in Alisdale in Nyamandlovu, who says George Silundika High School had 1 police officer with no rifle. That's in Mguza district. And please note that we're strong ZANU-PF supporters and we need transparency. So that to finish off. Someone is saying, I'm on the ground, I'm 100% ZANU-PF. What you're saying that there are 7 police officers with guns wasn't there in my district.
My statement, and let me point it again. There was an issue about the people taking my ballot papers and running away with my ballot papers. An MP, sitting MP, distributing my ballot papers. When the people that are collecting my ballot papers are district coordinators, and the district coordinator, mota yari kufamba nayo, he has got a police officer with an AK-47.
No, initially, I'm going to go back to your words initially, because this is a response to you saying earlier.
Larry, let me finish. Let me finish my point.
I want to get the clarity of the question. Clarity of the question. Earlier on, you said no chance of anyone coming in and taking ballot boxes because there's 7 policemen with guns and rifles and so forth. She's saying, no, where we are, there was no policeman with all that stuff, which means there's an opportunity for something like that to happen.
There's no ballot place, Panema, where my elections are being held, where there are no police people.
She say there's 1 policeman.
That's not true. She's actually lying. That I can tell you. And I can actually point out to you which station that is.
George Silundika High School.
That's not true. Every ballot place, every station, there's 8 more police people. And I'm talking about every station I had in Harare East. Apana any ballot station where there were no police station. There were 8 Mapurisa at every station. So can I one police person? That's not true.
Well,
absolutely not true.
I think if I'm sitting at home and I'm her, I'm like, can everybody be lying? Is it possible that there is some way that the truth can...
There's nothing like that.
There have been statements, some people saying all sorts of things are happening. So for the person sitting at home, we're back where we were right from the beginning.
Muna driver through
Okay, you listen to ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town. That was the voice of Honorable Terence Mukupe, who is the sitting MP and contesting for Harare East, and with Mr. Gilbert Muponda, provisionally says he's won a Warren Park. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in and engaging in this discussion.
Thank you, Larry. Good night, Zimbabwe.
It's ZFM Stereo, my station, your station, the hottest radio in town. Have a good May Day. I'll be back with you on Wednesday, but for now, I leave you in the comfortable hands of Chila with our story. And as I say, from where I come from, my name is Larry Kwirirayi. Asibi siyasebenza.